So basically, Lon, as you change themes, whatever is in your database for your updates just gets reapplied to whatever that theme supports.
That's an essential feature of what we call content management system. The content is separated from the layout and design.
No, this is a great start. And
so what happens is there's a template of HTML and CSS. Then there's PHP code that pulls the data and plugs it into the template, and then the template is rendered as a page. So the same template's used over and over, and you'll have multiple templates. You know, home page template, a blog page template, a categories list template. So all those templates are designed by the theme writer who makes the theme up. I mean, people can learn this. You can learn this at WordPress.org, and there's courses and things to learn how to actually write your own themes, and you can actually make themes for other people. And they just get plugged in. That's all. They're a plugin. Although they don't call it a plugin, it's a theme, but it's the same concept. Go ahead. More questions?
Going forward, will there be any information on how to get feedback or fields or data? Can you interact and get data from the users, forms and things like that?
Yes, it depends on what you want to know. I can try to help you find things. Generally, you have to know what it is you want to do. So, for example, I like to have people be able to sign up. So rather than have them sign up in WordPress itself, which you can do, and you have to manage that. You'll get people to sign up that you open yourself up to more spamming and more moderation when you do that. But you can also have people sign up right through WordPress. It's already built into it. Now, I don't know how far they go in WordPress.com, but I did see they have at least a feature there for that. They do have a feature, as I remember seeing it today. I think it's just an email address. I don't know how customizable it is. But I use MailChimp for my list hosting. And I use a plugin that was created by somebody. Let's see who it is. Plugins. And we'll see it here somewhere. Here it is. It's by Danny Van Kooten. And, of course, I searched for it and saw all the different ratings and so you can search for what you need. So I needed a WordPress. I needed a MailChimp plugin. That's what I needed. So MailChimp apparently doesn't provide, at least at last I looked, a WordPress plugin. For example, Bluehost, they've actually written a plugin. You know, they don't have to write one, but they decided to write one to get more people to be affiliates. But somebody else might fill that gap. So if I go down to this plugin, I don't have the Pro version because I don't really need the features in it. These are my settings. I'll probably reveal some secret information now. Let's see what happens. So it's telling me the Pro features. So I have to give it my key that I get from MailChimp and some other pieces of data. And then there's a place where I can customize this, or I can pull a form from MailChimp. But that's a specific case. So that's how I solved the problem of collecting someone who's interested to be on the mailing list. Now, if you're asking about someone actually becoming a member, a subscriber, and controlling what content they can or cannot see, I don't think WordPress goes that far yet, out of the box. So that if they sign in, pay you some money, and then they can see more stuff, I'd have to research that for you. And that's going to be a good part of your project when you're working with WordPress is research. What's out there? What can I find? What did users say about this plugin? What did the user that snarked at it say? Is it a valid comment? The one that rated a 0? Is their comment valid or not? You know, so you look through there and then you try it. Most of the plugins I have are 4 to 5 stars. There's always somebody that didn't like something about it. And the plugins have to be updated when WordPress updates. So when WordPress updates, you need to go and double check this. I forget where exactly it is, but one of these would have the WordPress updates. Here it is, updates. How hard was that? Now, it has 7 there, but they're probably all, I don't use these. So there's updates for them, but I don't need them. I actually go to the plugins page and update from there. But, if I'm using the MailChimp plugin from that fellow, I think it was named Daniel, I think, and WordPress 3.9 comes out, I have to check my plugins to see if those are still compatible with 3.9 or they have an updated version. So there is maintenance involved on hosting it yourself. When you're WordPress.com, they're taking care of that for you. So all their plugins would automatically be updated when they update WordPress. Does that help answer your question? I don't know what else.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That does.
Yeah, so I mean, if you want to do something on to do like shopping carts and buying things, no problem. You can stick PayPal buttons. There's shopping cart products that you can get. If you go to Shopify, they probably have something that works with WordPress. So all that's fine. But to take over the WordPress site and try to decide user access, the way you would do that is you'd have to give them a WordPress account, and then I don't know what you can actually hide in terms of content. You probably can only control what access they have, read-write access. So something to have to research. It's actually a very good question because it's got me thinking about it. The more I can do with where I don't have to do the coding, the better off I am. Unless I'm trying to learn the coding, in which case I like doing it. Any other questions? What else? So while you're thinking of another question, if you have some that you want me to think about for the next pass, or if you want to, because I'll pick some direction, I can look at them ahead of time and find some relevant information. So you can always send me that through the Discuss forum there. You probably have my email address from the class. As I said to the class this week, that email address that I gave in class is good for you to write to me forever. So you don't ever have to think that the class is over and you no longer can write a question. So you can always send it that one, and I'll be glad to help you out. I usually learn something when someone asks a question. So how was this? Is this a good overview? Do you get a good picture of what we're doing?
Very much so. I thought this was great. I'm actually going to go to the .com this weekend and try and set up a little site and try to see what it looks like.
Okay, good.
It might be the quicker way to go rather than try and bring it down and work on it locally.
Right, and then if you do want to go to a domain level, then you just pay them, I don't know, $20 a month or $5, whatever their rate is, and then you can actually just stay right there if you like. Right,
or I can decide to that I like the way it works and I can bring it down and
right.
Run
Then
it
you
off
can if you maintain it yourself, you have absolute 100% flexibility, and you can hire anybody if you want to do something so advanced and you have money for it, or you can do it yourself. It becomes completely open. Which is the beauty of it all. But you are now maintaining it when it gets updated and all those details. They're not hard to do, but it's now a job. You just have to keep on top of it. If your site is something that you use on a weekly, day-to-day, monthly basis, or if it lapsed over a couple of years, like one of my sites lapsed over a couple of years. When I came back to it, Google had banned it. It had so many viruses. Google rated it as being bad because it wasn't updated. So when Google goes through WordPress sites, it picks up the version number, and it will try to start dunning you if you're not up to date, because Google doesn't want that's just Google trying to clean up the internet. And so if you have a very outdated version of WordPress, Google will start warning you. If you have a webmaster's account, if you don't have a webmaster's account, you won't even know. They say you're kind of screwed. All right.
I have a question.
Oh, sure, no problem.
I'm so new at this. I'm trying to understand some things. If you wanted to do your own site, you didn't have a server in your home, but you want to use a cloud services somewhere. I guess you could use like Bluehost, correct? To host your website?
Yeah, in general, Bluehost is the first level. They call it web hosting company.
For somebody like GoDaddy or any of those.
Right, and often most of them, what they do is they put your website on one, maybe two server locations, maybe one on the East Coast, maybe one on the West, but most of them have one place where they put your website. So everybody in the world has to get the data from that place. Cloud hosting is usually an additional fee, in which case they replicate your website across their cloud service. So the cloud service is either they rent it themselves or whatever, in which case your website is spread out so it's closer to the requesters.
So if you did something like that, you would have to make sure on that site you would download the WordPress from the .org WordPress version. You'd download the software. You'd have to would you have to do a MySQL on that web hosting site?
For example, if you use Bluehost, there's a feature to go to what they call cloud hosting. It's an additional cost, and basically now the same account is now been moved to their account levels. That's all. Everything else is the same. Nothing's changed. It's just
but to use if you use WordPress as your
you mean WordPress.com, where they're hosting it for you?
No. WordPress. I'm trying to understand the procedures. Just generally speaking, if you had WordPress from .org, you download that software, then you have to service, or you need an Apache server or something, right?
Right.
I'm not I'm not a network expert. And then you also
whether you're downloading it or the hosting company downloads it for you, it's the same identical files. There's nothing different. Okay, so
that server has to be running PHP and MySQL.
Right. So yeah, most of your hosting unless it's Windows, then Windows hosting company. Most of the hosting companies run Linux. Apache is one of the names for it, and they all have PHP. When you go to the WordPress site, the page where you do the 5-minute download,
right?
If you're going to be level 1, completely do it yourself, then you have to go to that page and read the requirements page, which says what PHP version, what MySQL version. Then you got to go back to your control panel and compare them. Now, second level is you use your hosting company's automatic WordPress install in the control panel. So you don't have to do any of that. You just follow the instructions. Watch the Bluehost video I posted up on our webpage for this webinar. It's 5 minutes. You'll see how they do it. Okay.
Now, if you do that, do you then have to maintain updated versions of WordPress, or do these hosting sites do that for you also?
Good question. I don't know if they do it automatically or not. I have the feeling in the past they will done you on it. The reason that they done you on it is because they have to protect themselves. So they don't want to have WordPress running on their hosting where there's virus problems. I remember being done in the past. But whether they updated it, we have to check. We have to check by company. So I'm going to check Bluehost to see what they do. Now, Bluehost didn't install mine. I installed it myself on every one of the sites I put up there. But I'll check. Also, WordPress does automatic updates. There's a checkbox in there.
Okay.
They've gotten to the point where they do it automatically. So the reason you don't want it to do it automatically is because you may have a lot of plugins and you're not sure whether the owner of the plugin is going to update, especially when you have free plugins or free versions.
Right.
Whereas the paid version, you more or less expect them to be keeping up to date. But that's a good question, whether the hosting company you're saying I want to have more control over my WordPress site if I need it, so I'm going to host it on a hosting company. That was why you decided to do that in the first place. And the second thing is that you want to have them maintain more of it. So we'll have to see what Bluehost does as far as maintenance, but generally they're hands-off running your site. They generally don't, but I think they have some service agreements, but I don't know if they have something specific for WordPress.
I'm just trying to compare the options, and I don't know what I want to do personally. When I look at things like this, I try to compare, what's the pros and cons, and what's the long-term effect, and what's that going to require of somebody's time. So if, let's say, our church decided to do the website and we went forward with it, and somebody's going to maintain the look of it and the content, well, what about the administration side? What's the best way for us to go? So I like to have those facts prepared to answer questions.
Right, you do need that, especially you have to service other people, even if it's a nonprofit organization. So in the case of my church, the pastor set the website up for himself, and he likes doing that HTML stuff. Not a very attractive site, but it's functional. If he asked me to take it over, the first thing I would try to do is to convince him to use WordPress. The second thing I would do is make sure that the WordPress installation I chose is one that would survive me. Since I'm a more advanced user, I wouldn't want to create one where that the next person taking it over would have to know all kinds of little tweaks that I did to it. So I would lean to the managed version of it, unless there was something that he was doing on that, in my case, as a pastor, but the church was already doing on their website that does not fit within the managed hosting version. Then I'd have to think about hosting it myself. But I would lean towards the fact that I don't want to be the one fixing, or if I want somebody to take it over, I have to now show them something that's technical beyond the built-in feature. And that's the problem I have with the 100 website. A lot of the web pages were hand-coded over the years. So for me to have someone take those over, I have to take out the hand-coding options I put in and try to reconfigure them so they can do it through the visual editor, which I'm in the process of doing one by one. The historical blog articles we're not going to change, but newer stuff coming in, we don't want people to have to do that. So some of the pages in there, like the home page, has my own hand coding stuck in there to get it out of there so someone else can maintain the home page who's not technical. And so that's the difference between choosing the visual editor versus the text editor on the home page. But in your case, that would be definitely one of my criteria, is that I want it so that there's nothing I have to do that requires somebody technical to go in to do it. So then you look at the features that are over at WordPress. They have all the features laid out over there. So you can just go through the WordPress.com and see all the things they have and decide which you want to look at. Same thing with Squarespace. You might like that one better. Now, Squarespace is, I think, a fee from the get-go. I don't think there's a free version of it. There's a trial version. But it's the same concept. There's administrative screens, and they have the choice of whether you want a blogging site or a paid site. But it doesn't really matter which one you pick. The advantage of WordPress, it's open source community, and they're still updating it, and they're getting more aggressive about the hosted version. And a company like Squarespace, they're in for business from the start. There's also people that rate these things out there. Squarespace has had probably a C+ to a B- rating the last time I looked. But that's before the latest overhaul. So they've done a tremendous overhaul to be more friendly to screen sizes, and I don't know what not in there, but it's my daughter wants to do what Jacob asked, and I had to investigate inside, and I said, you can't under your current version, because the current version won't let you do that. The new version will. So whatever it was she was asking me about, she was curious about doing. So that's my answer to that. I would lean on the hosted version of it and make sure all the widgets that they have already set up for you in there. They have plenty of themes, or you buy a theme. What's $70? You just shake down a few parishioners.
So does that mean when I'm learning all this HTML code in your class, none of it will be used on WordPress.com?
Yes, you don't have to use any. But
and you can't, right? You can't use.
Well, let's see, WordPress.com. I'll have to look again because I was only in there once today. But I think you might have still, going there right now, the dashboard, which I got another tab. I'm going to go over to the posts. Let's just take a look. No, you don't have to, but I mean, the question is when you can. Yeah, the text editor too. So after you write the first one, when you do add new and you're not in the dashboard area, the administrative area, you can do add new. I don't think they have this button, but here you can.
I didn't see it.
Yeah, but see, you can come here first. You don't have to actually do it there. You can come here first. I'm just trying to find the screen.
This is the .com version we're looking at?
Yep. My blog. Yeah, so if you add a post here, no, they take you here anyway, so I'm not sure. I notice sometimes when I add a post, I don't come here. That's why I said I seem to be in a change state where they're going from one state to another. Oh, new post up here. Okay, so new post at the top brings you to this one. New post here takes you to the dashboard version. So it's just a difference. They have some problems with their user interface. It's not really that clear. But I guess once you get used to it. So here, you have these different kinds of posts called formats, and there is no text editor here. But so you can't do the text editing here. So this would be for the person you don't want to have go into the dashboard at all.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, because I know when I use Microsoft Dynamics CRM, I'm an administrator on some of that stuff at work, and they have like a quick create different things just like this on the top, but then further down there's more, it's a more granular level that you could go into, and it doesn't show everything when you use that like shortcut. It's like a pared down version. I think that's becoming more common in more than this application.
Right, they try to keep making it more and more so that you don't have to actually use HTML at all.
Right, so I'm seeing it. Okay, but you could. But you could.
We're still in a point where it's a valid point to point out to people that if you are administering these and you are the sole administrator, you have a little more flexibility if you know some HTML. So that's why you want to have that knowledge. If you ever have to go through do something that has to do with that's not in the default visual editor.
Okay.
So
all right.
Now in one of them. So here's the text editor. It gives me the code. I don't know what else it gives me in here. There's some features in here. A del, a B quote. These probably are in the other one. I don't know if they're replicated at all. But you're definitely over here is where you're going to put in this these are just shortcuts to the HTML plus HTML that they allow that are not shortcuts. So you could put in a div tag here, as I said before. But if I put in a div tag, there's a good chance that if I go back to the visual editor, this will disappear. That's a really see. And so there it is. So it moved it actually, but it didn't take it out. So that's fine. Moving it doesn't matter because that's white space basically. So that's the advantage of having some HTML. You could actually do if you wanted a special styling that's not built into the theme, you can add your style tag right here. So in our class, we never used the style attribute, but you could put your CSS right there. And you don't have to worry, because you don't want to have to go and edit the actual theme CSS to create a class selector unless you feel you're going to use that over and over again. And then you have the issue of creating what they call a child theme, and then you'll have your CSS overrides added in the what they call the child version of the theme. And that's intermediate to advanced stuff. So the advantage of having some HTML is you could do some inline styles just for particular needs. But that's the only advantage.
Right.
Right. So.
Okay.
a lot of times when I was using WordPress, things that I needed to do were not even thought of yet. You could do them in plain HTML, but you couldn't do them in WordPress. So that was a boon for me. All right, so it's a good point. So the people that you might be working with, you can give them. Now WordPress.com, I don't know how the user access works out, but definitely it has built in where you can give them specific areas where they can go and they can't go. So you don't have to worry about them updating the general settings and updating the themes. They'll be blocked out of all that, but they can go and write articles, for example. So you can explore the user access capabilities at WordPress.com in their features area, see what they have for features. And keep in mind they have the 3 different levels, so what may not be available in the free version might be available in the paid version.
Right. Okay.
All
right, thank you.
Okay. What else?
That's all for me.
Okay, good. All right, gang, thanks for coming. It was fun. We'll try it again next week. If you're interested, come on back.
Thank you very much, Juan.
I'll send you an update just like I did this time. All right, good. Bye.